Hiya! Welcome! You've joined me once again for Minidisc Monday. This is edition number 46, and we're going to take a look at an electronic music group that have got a number in their name. They were a trio, at least at the time of the recording of this album. I do own two of their studio albums on Minidisc. This is their second studio LP, what we're looking at today, and we'll look at their third one and the second that I've got on Minidisc in the future in this series. But for now, let's concentrate on this one from the chaps in Apollo 440, Electro Glide in Blue. So as you saw, this came out in 1997. I didn't own the album on any format back when it originally came out. This, as is all my Minidisc purchases, something that I picked up within the last 10 or so years. I did own one of the singles from this on CD, and it was one of my very favourites of that year, and we'll talk about that as we get to it on the album. But before we go through all the tracks, let me show you the case and what's within it. So the case itself in pretty nice condition, doesn't seem to be much in the way of cracks and scuffs. A little scuffing on the front, but it's to be expected. The disc with the Electro Glide in Blue Apollo 440 logos on that side. Turn it over, we've got the track listing and the obligatory legal bump. As for the inlay or insert, it's one of those annoying concertina ones that's all folded up weird, so I'm not going to get this fully unfolded because I probably won't be able to get it back in its correct position for ages, and it's just a waste of my own time really. But it's nice and glossy, in good condition, tells you tracks, production notes, thanks, etc. Oh, and of course, we've also got the Sony Nice Price hype sticker, if you can call that hype sticker, still on the front of the case. So this was obviously a reduced mini disc in Sony Music's Nice Price range, back when mini discs could still be found in the shops. So this is only the second time I've listened to Electro Glide in Blue in full today, and I wanted to cover some more dance music. As I said earlier, I've got two Apollo 440 albums on MD, so I wanted to get round to them sooner rather than later. Let's start out with track number one. Is just 1 minute long, which is quite unusual because a lot of the tracks on here are pretty long, to be honest. Stealth Overture, and it's just sort of an intro, I won't say interlude because an interlude usually comes in the middle of something, but it's sort of setting the scene. It's like taster for what's to come really, and very nice it is as well. Number two is the aforementioned single that I mentioned earlier. I had it on CD, loved this track so much, it's one of my favourite singles of that era, Ain't Talking About Dub. Brilliant track, hopefully you will have heard a bit of it earlier on if I didn't have to mute it for copyright. It samples the guitar in Van Halen's track Ain't Talking About Love from, I don't know, the early to mid 80s, I'm not sure. I've never really been interested in Van Halen, still not interested in them, but I do love that sample, it's absolutely phenomenal. And it's my favourite track on the album, my favourite single from Apollo 440, and I am familiar with a fair few of their singles from the kind of late 90s period at least. Number 3, Altamont Superhighway Revisited. That was another good one. I really enjoyed that. It kind of starts out like it's a little bit Kraftwerky, but then it goes into kind of more of the standard Apollo 440 big beat / drum and bass sound of the era. More guitar samples, or it could be original guitar. I believe one of the members of Apollo 440, he played guitar in a lot of different bands, both before and after, including some punk bands like Magazine, and I think he even had a stint in The Cure. Noko, I think his name is, or Noko. Do correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone does know who I'm referring to and knows how to pronounce that properly. Track 4 is the title track from the album, Electro Glide in Blue, 8.5 minutes long, just over actually, 8 minutes 36. That is kind of my problem with this album ultimately. While it's good, there's quality throughout, to be honest. I could have done with some of the tracks being a bit shorter because they just kind of went on a little bit and it felt a bit self-indulgent at times. Number 5, Vanishing Point, another high quality and standout track for me on this album. There again, almost weighs in at 7.5 minutes. At 6 minutes 17, of course, there's all the track times on the back here, that's why I'm able to refer to them so specifically. Tears of the Gods. Number 7 is an interesting one, Carrera Rapida, brackets theme from Rapid Racer. So this was a video game, a console game effort from Apollo 440. Rapid Racer was out for the original PlayStation. When I looked it up on Wikipedia, apparently they'd done some music for it. I don't know if that was just this particular theme for the game or they'd done other incidental music for it as well. I imagine they probably did. I've not played the game and I didn't really look into it much. Pretty good track though, kind of has vocals shouting out about Rapid Racer throughout, so it sort of feels a little bit like an ad for the game as you're listening to it, but it's still good. Number 8 is Krupa. That was the first single from the album. I didn't own that single, but I remember it pretty well. I think it did quite well in the chart. I would have shown you the chart positions of the singles earlier on. Sort of a tribute, maybe sampling him as well, I think, for the late legendary jazz drummer Gene Krupa. And it's understandable why that was a single, sort of proper mid to late 90s big beat there, sort of riffing on the past but putting it in a then modern context really. Number 9, White Man's Throat. We're kind of leaving behind a lot of the sort of sampling of guitars and maybe older stuff, and we're sort of moving into more kind of big beat, ambient dance kind of territory really now. Number 10 is Pain in Any Language. Number 11 is Stealth Mass in FM. There's a hashtag between F and M, so that's some sort of musical notation and I can't pronounce that. I'm not having much luck with pronunciations in this one, am I? Apparently that track was played a lot on Radio 1 around kind of August, September 97, when all the radio, certainly BBC radio's general playlists were overhauled due to the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. And you can kind of see why. It's sort of a nice, lightish, ambient track. It's got kind of a soprano vocalising throughout it. It never came out as a single. The last track on this particular format of the album is Raw Power, and that came out as the third single. That wasn't included on all of the copies of Electro Glide in Blue. The vinyl and CD, I don't think included that, but they did add it to the Minidisc and possibly to a later CD reissue as well. That's only just under 4 minutes, so that is, I think, apart from the Stealth Overture intro, the shortest track on the album. So that was Electro Glide in Blue. It's good, it's very good. It reminded me of Moby a lot in places, particularly how he used to like to mix guitars and dance music. Real solid effort from Apollo 440. As for the next album of theirs that I've got, there again, it's one I've only listened to once many years ago, so I couldn't say whether I think this one is better than that one. I'll be able to make that judgment when I've listened to that one, and that won't be for a while. It is a recommendation from me. If you like your dance music, particularly big beat and drum and bass going into sort of ambient at times, then Apollo 440, very cinematic this really, Electro Glide in Blue. A lot of good samples from guitars and sort of old movie quotes and stuff. I like it. And that was Minidisc Monday for today. Thank you very much for watching. I want to say special thanks to my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. I'm going to go now, and please join me again in 2 weeks' time as we take a look at another album on that glorious format called Minidisc. Cheers everyone. See ya!